So, I saw this thing online about how to elegantly respond to manipulation. But first, I want to say Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Schneerson, the Lubavitch Rebbe's father, says, Torah is a manual that tells us how to accomplish shalom, peace, wholeness, rather than the fragmentation of the world. So before we do an exercise where we're going to use someone out there as a fragment, I want to first say that there are times where there's real self-care that's necessary, because there are people who can't meet our needs because they're so irresponsible, unskilled, and immature, the same way that we might be. So on Instagram, Flagita, Flagitaa, these are some responses you could say when you feel someone's trying to manipulate you. So manipulate you is to use information to control your decision. I don't like it at all. That doesn't work for me. Or I trust my intuition on this. Or I'm not comfortable continuing this conversation. Or let's not twist my words. Or that's not how I experienced it. Or you're entitled to your version and I know mine. Or this feels more like control than care. Or if it requires convincing, it's probably not for me. Or I've said what I've needed to say. Or I'm not changing my mind on this. Or I hear you, I'm just choosing differently. Or let's pause here, I need space to think. Or please don't speak to me in that way. Or I don't owe more explanation than I've already given. Or I don't know more I said that one. Yeah. Or I choose peace over being understood. Or that tone didn't feel good to me. Or you may not agree, but I'm standing by it. Or you're allowed to your thoughts. I'm allowed my boundary. Or this is not a dynamic I choose to engage in. Or I don't play games, I don't chase clarity, I protect my peace. And the Rambam mentions speaking positively, one, by the conduct prescribed to Torah scholars, or what we call Talmid Chacham. He should judge everyone in good light, speak favorably of his fellow man, never mentioning something that's shameful to him. That's Hilchas Deos 5:7. And he says the standard practice number 2 for the general population, who's not a Talmid Chacham, is each man is commanded to love each and every Jew, each and every one of Israel as himself. As it states, love your fellow as yourself. Therefore, one should speak the praises of others and show concern for their money, just as he's concerned with his own money, and with their honor, just as he seeks his own honor. And because a sage has power to highlight others' positive qualities, coaxing them to the surface without having to criticize as a rebuke, versus rebuking someone through love, basically wanting to bring someone else. So I felt there was a lot of projections I was having about a man named Aaron David Cohen, like a narcissism. And so the main healing is to find the inner narcissist. So let's talk. So what I'm saying here is a fragment maybe that I put in someone else, but actually I'm speaking about him. I'm speaking about a narcissist. So the fact that I saw it in him, we're saying here that I could heal this by coming up with the inner narcissist, So the theme is really finding and treating the inner narcissist. Because I often heard that the narcissist was wicked and evil, but that means people can't really look at that part of themselves. So when we call it maybe the selfish one or something, so he's reactive, not proactive. His trauma is defiling, sickening, infecting. My job isn't to be pleasant, but that's what he expects. He asks for too much patience and pushes me much more. It's disproportionate. He desecrated my home. His insanity keeps coming up for him to heal. He surrendered the strap that he forgot in my house from a clothing. This is written many months ago. And then he later claimed that he was a wronged victim and it should be replaced. He's controlling it in a completely unrespectful way. He said only physical damage evidence is real. But later he admitted that psychological, emotional damage is real too. changed, stuff like when it suited him, not because he was growing in his values. He puts others before himself, except that it's because he tries to impress people and get approval or money or a place to stay, but I didn't feel that he did that with me. He never thinks of others considering their needs, wants, benefits, and preferences. He believes that when he gets triggered, it's because he's flying an airplane or it's a Chernobyl disaster, really out of touch, no nervous system awareness. And he says celebrating comments and behaves with glee, even when others are suffering or past capacity or their fuses are blowing. He does that. He does to others what he wouldn't like. He tries to dictate thoughts, beliefs, ideas, behavior, speech of others. He withholds and deprives in order to feel powerful and then resents living humans getting upset enough to set boundaries and enforce consequences. He rushes like a headless chicken, an electrocuted bug, rushing to avoid his emptiness. And he tries to command like an authority, yet he doesn't practice what he preaches. And he has a dark, heavy energy that he can't handle anyone else's brightness and tries to be a shadow, a storm against the light of others' happiness. He lost trust and respect without following through because his word became worthless. So these are not necessarily about him, the real him. This is maybe a version of him because of his past. And you have to remember that people in their perfect self would be when they don't have all the encumberments and travails of the body and how difficult that is and how much of a not important guest they feel in the world and how they might have been suffering, subjugated and persecuted not only by their self but living in a world with people. Imagine who they'd be if they were raised up to their true self, where they wouldn't have to have any problems with their body that would cause them to want to judge negatively or be harsh in any way. Like people, their best selves, how much mercy in the world of truth and love that they would really have. Sean Sheshan Hashmatpur says there's toxic beliefs that kill men's connection with women. One is that women don't respect good men, that kindness makes someone weak, so instead they try to be bad and play hard to get and unavailable and distant. And chasing, for example, they might call it getting laid or scanning for flaws. Kindness without boundaries is a self-betrayal, relearning how to express warmth without tolerating disrespect, which is caring without collapsing. And this causes a person to be able to lead with grounded masculinity, a strong spine, an open heart, and considerate without self-sacrifice. 2, if I'm imperfect, I'm going to be abandoned. Having to always be on and impressive, afraid that everything could be seen as a flaw and others would lose interest and not being and there the person can't be real. So that's when that's when we heal, by letting others see me on an off day and seeing me on and off, opening up on what I'm working on with myself and expressing my feelings. And this is also true for each of us, masculine, feminine, but really like how he's representing the masculine. Opening up on what, and not filtering every word for the effect, and embracing one's flaws, being present and vulnerable and self-respecting, being whole. 3, men or women are emotionally unavailable, manipulative. This is when the person is projecting their past pain and red flagging and tagging versus curiosity. There's a story that's replaying mentally, meeting every wall with a wall, not forming connection, taking initiative. And this is healed by stopping to generalize. There's a conscious effort to stop seeing women and men in negative light, opening up to trusting people with healthier perspectives, and doing the inner work to feel the grief, not blaming a new person, and re-evaluating the kind of man or woman that you're choosing. Leading with curiosity, not assuming malice when there's resistance, and letting what people say and do reflect them. Asking and observing and trusting without going cold. Number 4, last but not least, that feminine means submissive. Someone might think that women have to be agreeable, soft, and not challenge, or be bold and strong, and they're not allowed to be bold and strong, or not allowed to challenge, or must behave to serve a man's need. So there's a reminder that a woman and a lot of women have to learn this too. We've been raised in this world with specific messages sometimes. So women a woman is a person just like a man. We have to redefine femininity, which it will allow it to be wild and fierce, intuitive and nurturing, not as compliant. Some like saying a man is not masculine if he's laid back and chill. Instead, we have to embrace polarity versus power plays, welcoming a woman with her own fire as long as it's not used to burn others. Compatibility is more important than control. It's above control, or it's something greater than control. It allows others to be their full self, and we don't judge, but there's an effort to see underneath if the vibe is aligned with or not, with a discernment. And this is in all of these, we shift our thoughts and emotions on purpose. We stop chasing, we start attracting. We stop hiding, we start influencing with power. We stop selling from fear, but we start with service. We stop needing validation and start acting from wholeness. And we stop reacting emotionally and start responding with clarity. We create more money, peace, relationships and experiences and friendships, and a legacy to be proud of. Because if you're not mastering your inner world, you might believe that the outer world will master you, as it appears to be that way. So we are being the cause and not the effect when we find the inner narcissist.